the Union Budget presented by the Finance Minister this morning a common man's budget? Does it have enough for Middle India to help them save more, spend less and live better? Welcome everyone, I'm Manisha Natarajan, and in the next 60 minutes we will decode the Union Budget 2015 and tell you what it means for your money. People from across the country have sent in many questions and we have an extremely well-informed, very young audience here in the studio which also has an opinion and questions on the budget. To put it all in perspective for us, we have with us, let me introduce my panel, Ajit Dayal, Chairman Quantum AMC, joining us from Mumbai, Nimesh Shah, MD and CEO ICICI Prudential Asset Management Co Limited. We also have with us Gautam Bharadwaj, Managing Director, Invest India Micro Pension Services, and tax expert Vishal Malhotra, tax partner EY. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, and of course I can see that the first question the audience has here is on petrol prices. Even before everybody could take in that impact of the fact that no changes in tax slab, we already have a petrol and diesel price hike which has come into effect from today. So what do you do about that? What do you do? No tax slab changes and a little bit of extra whammy on petrol prices, Vishal. In fact, I've also heard people say that we've never seen the benefit of prices coming down, especially if you had to hail a taxi or an auto.
See, I think the Finance Minister had a very limited room to maneuver. Now, with 62% of the aggregate collections, both from the states and the centre, going to the states, I think he to allocate funds to infrastructure, skill enhancement, education, and also to bring in growth, he needs money. So I think you're right to say that personal tax slabs haven't been changed. At the same time, rather than putting money with the masses, he is taking money back from them by increasing the fuel and fuel charges. I think the aim actually is to bring in growth, and that growth can come in. You need funds. So I think this is his way to take some money back, to give it back to you through growth, through job opportunities, through skill enhancement and through greater infrastructure. All
right, so that's the opening opinion. Nimesh is also with us. Nimesh, opinions are varying between that this is a landmark budget to also opinions which say this is a missed golden opportunity budget. What's your own take on the budget, especially with respect to the middle income India and the middle class?
I think it is a very credible budget. What I like the most about the budget is when you see the numbers, when you go to the details and you see the numbers, they are very, very achievable. The assumptions behind the numbers are very much achievable. I think the government needs to collect money if it has to do all the activities that it has mentioned. And I believe that all the numbers are quite achievable. So I will give a lot of credibility to the numbers that have been put across. Directionally, there have been absolutely no surprises. If we are asset management company and the sector calls that we would have, there is no change. There is no dramatical difference between what I thought in the morning and what I'm thinking right now. So directionally, there are no surprises. That's very good. A budget is not supposed to surprise and shock people. And I think the roadmap has been very clearly laid down. So we in investment world are very comfortable with the way the government is managing and giving a roadmap for the long term. So directionally good budget and very credible. That's what I would put it across.
All right. Gautam, what's your own opinion? I mean, you've been looking at India's low pension penetration, the fact that there's a huge poor class which has no retirement planning, but not just that, even middle India doesn't have retirement planning. And then you had a really interesting statement from the Finance Minister. He says that we will enable India to become a pension society instead of a pension-less society. This welfare statement, has this been the big one in today's budget which affects everyone, including a common man?
Yeah, I think this is perhaps easily one of the most significant things that I've seen in the budget today. What I've seen is most finance ministers have not, while they might have focused on, let's say, pensions and old age income security, I don't think the vision at this scale has ever come through. So my sense is that if you're talking about universal pension coverage, if you're talking about using both public policy tools as well as, let's say, tax as a tool to encourage mass scale participation, I think the budget is bang on in at least putting much more focus and much more political and policy attention on social security and pension reforms.
All right, let's see whether we have Ajit Dayal with us. Ajit, your first reaction to the budget, and we'd like you to focus on three very simple things: savings, investments. Okay, I think we've lost Ajit there, so let's take on our questions. We've got first question coming in from Jaipur. Let's take the Jaipur question. It is, of course, on something that we've already addressed, tax slabs, but there is some amount of angst in people as I hear it out yourself and see what they have to say.
Public was expecting that there will be increase in the slab rate, basic slab of the minimum amount liable to tax, that is presently 2.5 lakhs, as well as there will be increase in investment limit of 1.5 lakhs under section 80C and others. However, the general mass found there is no increase in both sides. Neither minimum tax liability slab 2.5 lakhs is being increased, nor investment limit of rupees 1.5 lakhs under section 80C is being increased. That's why general mass is not being benefited. In comparison to that,
Right, so we
Finance
got that
Minister
question. I think it's Ajit Dayal. If you've heard that question, it's very simple. No change in tax slab, so the tax liability remains the same. I think a lot of people were expecting that 1.5 lakh investment limit to go up to at least 2 lakhs. That's also not come about. Disappointment there. What's your overall rating when it comes to savings, encouraging savings amongst the Indian households?
Well, as was said by Gautam, I think the fact that a pension plan scheme is sort of being announced, or there's an incentive to put money in that, that's fantastic. Representing the mutual fund industry, Quantum, and I've got Nimesh on my right, we're disappointed that AMCs, mutual funds, cannot be part of that. So that's something that they really need to correct very quickly. They can do it outside the budget, no problem. But if you look at the budget as a whole, and again, it depends which angle you look at it from. If you're a domestic middle-class Indian individual, there's really not much that's changed. Yes, you can create your own pension money and get breaks on that. That's pretty much it. There's really not much change beyond that, as was said by the person from Jaipur. If you're an FII, then yes, there is more clarity on the taxes, on all this discussion that comes every few weeks, every few months about GAR, about MAT on capital gains, and just idiotic stuff that really distracts long-term capital commitment to India. So that's, I think, a big plus in my view. If you're part of the industrial family groups and trying to see what has this budget done for you, well, they've reduced the corporate tax rate, but they're also promising that they will take away the exemptions. So chances are that you'll probably end up with a slightly higher effective tax rate, but probably a simplified tax code to some extent. But I think, to me, the biggest problem of this budget from an investor's perspective is that you've had a stock market that's run up by 40% for the narrow index, and for the mid caps and small caps by a much larger amount of 80%, 100% over the last year and few months. And stock markets will run up when there is earnings expectations, and when there's a reality of earnings that's about to come through. I can't see anything in this budget that justifies the market run up the way it has run up.
Okay.
So I'm sort of sitting as a value investor and saying, if I was invested, again, as a fund manager in terms of Quantum, the Quantum fund management team, on the equity side is sitting on 30% cash. And we're kind of waiting there and say, okay, there's all this expectation of earnings that is supposed to come through, and it did not come through in the July 2014 budget. There's been no long-term economic policy that was supposed to have come within 100 days of coming to power of this government.
Right.
And now you've got a budget that's got nothing. So I think as an investor, you need to be in equity, but you need to be very careful about the valuations in this market, given the lack of visibility of earnings that is just missing in this budget in the near term.
Okay.
So that to me is a source of worry.
All right, so we are going to come back to the stock market question a little bit later. We have, in fact, Ajit, got a lot of questions from across the country on where are the stock markets headed. You've already given us some indication that earnings do not support the market fundamentals as of now and the level that they are at. But I'm going to take this question from Tamil Nadu. It's come from Shankar, we're going to focus a little bit on pension because, you know, this has been the big statement from the government. They want everybody to have comfortable retirements and the onus of supporting retirement not to fall on the government.
I have a question to the panel. Finance Minister just now announced that EPF is not compulsory for the employees, but the employer continues to pay it. In absence of the employee not going for EPF, what is the alternative saving method? Thank you.
Okay, Gautam, you need to take that question where, you know, I think it's meant for people who are struggling with their monthly income and they're being told that you have to contribute to EPF. They're being given a choice. On the other side, you also have the finance minister saying, hey, here's another 50,000, take it, invest in a pension scheme, and he's restricted it to new pension scheme, which is a government run fund, and said, create a pension or a good retirement. How do you weigh these two out?
So I think, so if you look at what the FM has done, is he's saying that earlier you were stuck in a scheme where you were contributing about 25% of your income. You didn't have any handle on how your savings were being managed for long term. And I'm sure Ajit will bear with me on this. So you had a situation where somebody, let's say, of the age profile of your audience here today, you know, young people in their early 20s, would have an identical portfolio to somebody who's, say, 51, 52, my age.
Right.
So I think this was not really working out very well. So what the government seems to have done is saying, we'll continue with mandatory contributions to EPFO, but we will keep the employer part of the EPF contribution intact, flowing to government,
So
government
whether
bonds
I
or
can
being
contribute or not, my employer has to continue to contribute to my EPFO.
Yes, but the way I understand it is that you will also be required to contribute, but you have an option to choose NPS instead of giving your money to the EPF.
Okay, all right.
So you get some protection in the form of some guarantees, but those are limited and capped guarantees at 8.5% of half your money. The balance money you can put into perhaps higher yielding instruments, especially if you're a young person.
So explain new pension scheme to us, Vishal, if you could. What is the benefit? I believe that you have options to actually get higher returns, but these are not guaranteed, as an EPF would guarantee you basic returns. So is it good for people to actually opt for NPS for retirement funding?
See, I think it really depends on how the monies are going to really be managed by the NPS. So to that extent, an EPF really guarantees you a return from the state. On the other hand, in NPS, you have an option to make greater returns. So at a young age, I think people should really look at parking money partly in EPF and partly in NPS. Okay. But at a relatively later time in life, I think when you're closer to retirement, I think your focus may be more towards EPF.
To stick with those assured returns, if you've crossed 50, you don't want to take unnatural risk. Nimish, you must be pretty disappointed with the fact that that extra 50,000 isn't coming to mutual funds. I mean, your fund has outperformed, whether it's debt or equity, and done extremely well as much as Ajit Dayal's funds have done. I mean, both outstanding, I would say, fund houses. So why didn't the government open up? Do you think there was a rational logic to it?
I'm always positive. So I would say that the government has taken the right step in giving, first thing, a 50,000 limit. So I am very happy that that has happened. Second part of it is whether it has come to mutual funds or not. I think mutual funds, if you see the last 20 years track record, mutual funds has invested the money in a most transparent manner for the common man. So it's a question of time. So I will never be negative. I am positive that a 50,000 limit has come. We will pursue with the government that a level playing field should be given. If NPS has been given, that the retirement plans of mutual funds who have got more than 20 years experience of managing money, it would be, and who have got a great track record of managing money, I think they will be able to win the customer's confidence more than any other intermediate can. So I believe it is a question of time before our retirement plans will also be eligible for this. And I'm quite positive it will happen.